Welcome to the Eating at a Meeting podcast. I'm your host, Tracy Stuckrath, dietary needs expert, certified meetings manager, certified food protection manager. I have searched the globe to find people and businesses who are creating safe, sustainable, and inclusive food and beverage experiences for their employees, guests, and communities. In each episode, you will find authentic conversations about how food and beverage impacts inclusion, sustainability, culture, community, health, and wellness. I know that sounds like a lot, but we're going to cover it all. Are you ready to feed engagement, nourish inclusion, and bolster your bottom line? If so, let's go. Hi, I'm Tracy Stuckrath with Thrive Meetings and Events and your host for the Eating at a Meeting podcast. On the Eating at a Meeting podcast, we talk about all things food and beverage to make ourselves better people and understanding food and beverage. And I love to interview the experts that I have on the show in all facets of food and beverage, and especially today's guest. Jen Hidinger-Kendrick is the co-founder of Giving Kitchen. Giving Kitchen was started when I lived in Atlanta, and her husband passed away from cancer. And it was so warming to see how the Atlanta food and beverage community came together. Welcome, Jen.
Oh, thank you so much, Tracy. I appreciate it so much. Thanks for allowing us to share our story.
You're welcome. So I know about the Giving Kitchen, and I'm not going to give it justice. So can you tell everyone about the Giving Kitchen and how it came about?
I would love to. And I love that you kind of introduced my late husband, Ryan Hidinger, in that way. You know, I often talk about Giving Kitchen. The reason for its existence is really, truly about community response, coming together to support, one person, one family. And ultimately what that's turned into is the support for thousands and thousands. So it is really special and heartwarming, as you've put it. Giving Kitchen was this kind of a light bulb moment that happened after my late husband was a chef. We're both originally from Indianapolis, Indiana, and moved to Atlanta in 2004, late 2004, after I graduated from college. He had been a chef back home in Indiana and wanted to work for one of the best restaurants that the Southeast had when we moved here. And that's exactly what he did, and kind of toiled around for a few years before he found his home at eventually Musson Turner's in Smyrna, Georgia, just north of the city. And that's really kind of when we started to consider, what does life hold for Ryan and Jen here in Atlanta within the food world? I was not, I had worked, part-time in restaurants through college and whatnot, but was not in that as like a professional career. I always said a really loving, supportive wife, and loved everything about the food and beverage industry through him and just through our own experiences. And what happened was we were come late 2008, leading into 2009, we actually started a supper club out of our home as a way for us to get to learn about our community and for Ryan to cook food for strangers and get them to learn about, our lifestyle and the way that we approached food and culture. And we progressed that several years until December of 2012. Actually, interestingly enough, today marks the 8-year anniversary of when my late husband was actually diagnosed with stage 4 terminal cancer diagnosis of gallbladder cancer, which was a heart-wrenching kind of moment for our lives. Everything kind of turned black, and we thought everything that we had worked towards, was disappearing, and it was a rallying of business mentors, best friends, and family. Those we just really loved and believed in, who believed in us, who rallied behind us and said, "Let us help you." And what happened was the curation of a fundraiser within 3.5 weeks' time from the date of diagnosis to the time that this particular fundraiser was put on to help us, which is called Team Heidi, short for our last name of Hidinger. It ended up raising nearly $300,000 for us in one night. And that was really kind of that impetus light bulb moment of, wow, there isn't really anything out there to support our community or a food service worker, a restaurant worker in need like we've just seen tonight. What would happen if we turned those funds into, the opportunity to help others? So that's really kind of what sparked the intention, the initial idea for Giving Kitchen to become what it is today.
That's amazing.
I was going to say, and what Giving Kitchen is today, just real quick. It's a nonprofit, and we are here to help food service workers in crisis, whether they are affected by an illness, an injury, the death of a family member, or a housing disaster like a flood or a fire. We can step in and help pay for their basic living expenses through financial assistance, and then as a secondary opportunity to help kind of offer that hope of stability is to step in with community resources. So direct referrals to individual service providers or mental health counseling or housing stability or food security, so on and so forth. So we've got a couple of different ways that we can help.
That's amazing. And I love the statement on the website that says, we step in when your shifts can't.
Yeah, exactly. Our shift starts when yours can't. I mean, that's exactly what it is. We want to be that connecting, that bridge between a food service worker and homelessness, to be quite honest. I mean, we are preventing homelessness. We are preventing, hunger. The opportunity when Giving Kitchen is able to step in and pay for those basic living expenses and that rent or mortgage for upwards of 3 or 4 months at a time. That is the direct link between someone potentially losing their home and not being able to put food in the refrigerator and choosing between care.
Well, it reminds me of the story of Catherine Miller, who used to work with James Beard Foundation. And she told a story of a chef in San Francisco who was off shift one night and walked out and saw his executive sous chef sleeping in a car. Wow. And that's where that chef lived. And the owner chef of this restaurant had no idea that. And he then proceeded to help him get housing and, somewhere or whatever. But that's what the Giving Kitchen can help do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating to see. It's amazing to have seen the growth in over the years. I mean, this is a nonprofit that officially started in early 2013 and has grown so much. I mean, when we were brand new, this was a nonprofit just inside the perimeter of Atlanta. And at the beginning, we were only, offering our services for full service restaurant workers. And over the years, we continued to we always were listening as individuals, clients would come to Giving Kitchen with the help that they needed. And we realized, there was so much more that we could step in and help with. So hence Stability Network becoming a thing several years ago, which is this direct connection for free or low cost resource referrals. And over the course of the years, again, the need for Giving Kitchen, using my late husband's directive from that many years ago, was use these funds to help others like me. And it was really just became about, it needed to be more than just full service restaurant. We needed to encompass all of food service. When you look at this industry in Georgia alone, 420,000 food service workers span our state. This is the second largest, industry outside of the, U.S. government. These are jobs that can't be automated. 25% of Americans started in food service. I mean, there's like a direct personal connection that we all have. And we just realized that all of food service meant anybody in concessions, catering, food trucks, cafeteria workers, restaurant workers, anybody can help. Anybody who's in crisis can be helped by Giving Kitchen.
That's fantastic. And it's so broad. And I think people take that for granted, what food service and hospitality, what it entails, all of the people that it entails. And I think COVID has really impacted or shined the light on our industry big time. So since COVID has hit, have you seen the needs rise, and how have you responded?
Absolutely. That's a great question. At the very beginning of 2020, we kind of went into this year as an agency, I think like most people or businesses, probably with we know 2020 is going to provide X, Y, or Z for us. We were kind of at the tail end of an old strategic plan, and we were following suit with what we had planned in 2019. And then all of a sudden, here it is. Everybody's world is rocked. This industry was catapulted into complete travesty. The number of restaurant workers furloughed or completely unemployed, and who are still unemployed or looking at a completely different career path right now, is staggering. The pivoting, of course, the word of the year, of restaurants who have gone from white tablecloth fine dining to just offering hamburgers takeout. Like, it's just unbelievable to see who has been able to do that, who has wanted to do it and had that desire, and ultimately to the sadness behind the doors that have closed permanently. What we saw as an agency immediately, and specifically even in that very first week, so that mid-March timeframe, we saw immediately 20 times the volume than Giving Kitchen has ever seen before, just in that first week of clients coming to us and asking for help. And I remember within the first 2 weeks of COVID impacting our area, we saw more website traffic than we did the entire year of 2019. In 2 weeks.
Wow.
And it was just astronomical for us with people coming saying, hey, can you help me? And what we did immediately was develop a COVID-19 resource page. It has seen over 80,000 page views. So these are real life instances where people are going, they're using the hundreds of resources that are on there. And that's from, again, either free or low cost mental health counseling to where the free food is locally or around the state. And what we also realized was, the clarity, I'm sure you've heard this a lot, especially as nonprofits, the people within them tend to want to be something for everyone, or they want to be everything for someone. And what, the direction that we chose was our clarity of purpose and mission. And we realized really quickly that if we opened the box, so to speak, and offered, financial assistance to every food service worker who is unemployed or underemployed during that time, that we would have failed miserably. We really learned and realized that clarity of purpose and that staying right in that lane of making sure that our voice was louder than ever. Again, we are here to help food service workers. Crisis, injury, illness, death of a family member, or housing disaster. But we also have stability network resources that, can provide you assistance. And that's exactly what we focused on. And what we've seen has been a revitalization. We have seen over 5,000 new donations to Giving Kitchen just this year since March. 85% of those are brand new for the very first time donors. And these are in increments of like $50 or $100 just coming to us. It's been remarkable to see. And I think that is a direct reflection of, again, just honing in on what we do best and making sure that we were able to just shout that out to as many people as we could. So that's just a tiny bit of what we've seen over the years. There was a little bit of a dip in the number of clients coming to Giving Kitchen throughout the summer months, but we realized, okay, wow, these are food service workers who are staying home, and their apartments aren't catching on fire as often because they're home to manage the stove, or there's less car accidents because not as many people are going to work. And over the last couple of months, we've seen that steadily rise again. So we on average are seeing anywhere from 40 to 60 clients ask for help in any given week. And then in turn, we're able to kind of go through that application process, verification, and then offer assistance when we're able.
It's truly remarkable. And I so a couple of questions came out of that. So you started in Atlanta, and then in what you just said, you also said statewide. So you've expanded to the entire state of Georgia, or have you expanded outside of Georgia as well?
Excellent question. So what we have done in our years, we serve the entire state of Georgia. So any food service worker living in Georgia, we are able to offer them financial assistance or stability network programming referrals. There have been a couple instances, one currently, where we've been able to reach outside of Georgia, and that was from a recent hurricane. Was it? It was a hurricane last year. Which one was it? Whichever one it was last year. But we had an opportunity to partner with the Episcopal Church of Southeast region, and we were able to offer financial contribution to those who provided receipts for if they ended up, having to leave their home and go stay in a hotel somewhere, or show us grocery receipts on what they had to do when they were lifted from their home or taken away from their home. So there's been one instance where that has happened. And our efforts, for the future are, again, kind of hold true to that directive from years ago. This is meant for everyone. I think the hope for Giving Kitchen is that, we are a regional, national, nonprofit one day in the foreseeable future. And today marks all of Georgia, and we'll see where we go next year.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So one of my friends is Naomi, who does events for you.
Yes.
And I have been to your fabulous events in the train depot and
Heidi, there you go.
Yes. Phenomenal. So much fun. So because of COVID and not being able to do events, how have you been doing your fundraising?
Great question too. And yes, Naomi Green is our development director and has been with the organization since day one, a longtime friend, an amazing teammate, lovely at her job, charismatic and just lovely and kind. So I love her. We haven't done events. You're right. And I think what we've done and what we've confirmed with the agency long ago was that we weren't going to ask for a single dollar from any of our restaurant partners for the remainder of the year and likely the foreseeable future. What we realized really early was these obviously our food service partners, the restaurants, anybody who's working is affected and struggling. The majority of the events that we hosted throughout the year, whether we hosted them as a signature event for Giving Kitchen or we were a beneficiary and participated in a smaller way, we had to count on so many restaurants donating products and donating time and services. And there was that opportunity, flew out the door in March. And so what we've really done was our clarity of mission and purpose. We've done some really great storytelling. We've been able to gather a lot of client testimonials to help us in that effort. What we've seen were a significant amount of other people out there. So a group of an ad agency, and there's a group of runners within that agency, and they put on, a 5K and asked for donations from their community to support Giving Kitchen, to other, food establishment partners like coffee sellers or ice cream makers who have come our way and said, we want to donate a percentage of proceeds. We've seen that skyrocket this year. And then there's some other really amazing partnerships out there with like Creature Comforts, and we have a GK wine, a Giving Kitchen wine. And these are actual delicious beverages that you can buy at a local store. And again, proceeds go to Giving Kitchen. So we've really counted on our community in that way to help spread the mission and to be a source of fundraising for us outside of just the individual, funders, the corporations who have stepped up in a huge way. That's really what has made us continue to be operational this year and for the next few years for sure.
So what does putting your crystal ball in here, and for the industry, because you've been in it for so long with Ryan and then since his passing and as COVID, what do you see going forward for all of your restaurant partners?
I see a strength in community that we always knew was present in Atlanta. And outward, I think we've seen community after community, not just in Georgia, all over the globe, just really step up. And the people outside of the food service community and outside of restaurants, maybe the people who just go to support them, but they've really taken a turn to help support small business owners. I have to admit, I was frightened for a long time this year about like what really will happen to this industry. Mm-hmm. Will people want to go back out? Will we just have learned a whole new way of living, so to speak? And as the time passes and I become less fearful, I become a bit more optimistic, to be honest, because I do believe people are hungry for it. We've seen it all across the last 10 months. And there's really nothing, in my personal opinion, nothing better than having a food and beverage experience. It's never been about the food or the beverage for me. It has always been about that gathering and joining with someone that you feel connected to, just a quality individual, whether you have differences or not, and even better if you can share those, at a table. But it's always been about that community. And the faster we can get together in a way that we all feel really safe and confident about that, I think the better. And I think our restaurants and our food service establishments will thrive on that again.
I do too. And it is sitting down at a table and breaking bread with someone and sharing and building a relationship that way. And especially when you're in the back of the house at the kitchen or even the front of the house team, that is a community in and of itself in a restaurant. And the way that the management treats them as well as the way the management trains them and builds that community with them, then that adds on to your guests. Absolutely. And that adds on to the overall community in that neighborhood.
100% agree with you.
So there is a restaurant that came about from Giving Kitchen as well, Staple House. Now named named the best restaurant in the country. I don't remember what year that was.
That was amazing. Yes. So I'm also the co-founder of Staple House Restaurant. That tiny supper club that I mentioned in kind of our intro was prelude to Staple House, the now restaurant, or the now market because of COVID. But yeah, that started out of my home. I mean, just in my dining room behind me over here with my late husband, and proud, co-founder of that. That restaurant ended up opening as a for-profit subsidiary of Giving Kitchen. So Giving Kitchen actually owned the restaurant. And that opened in September of 2015. It actually has since been sold. So Giving Kitchen no longer owns Staple House Restaurant. And I'm from a kind of a storytelling perspective. I was a part of the restaurant since its inception until about a little over a year ago. And I actually joined Giving Kitchen staff completely full-time a little over a year ago. So my former business partners manage, run, and own Staple House Market now. And again, another really beautiful example of what has happened to a casual fine dining establishment, completely shifting everything they've ever known and turning it into a market in the middle of, downtown Atlanta. If you haven't been, I would highly recommend it. It's wonderful. And so being a partner in that has been amazing. And then, there are a lot of moments when I was a part of that team full time that we would do family meal every single day. We did family meal every single day because it was a vital opportunity to kind of rip away everything that was happening in the day, come together over meal and over discussion, and, kind of unite in a way that felt really productive and purposeful for a full team. Staple House, with the type of dining that, I used to be a part of, it was all about synchronicity and unity and purpose. And it was very paced, and, it used to be a tasting menu restaurant. So with those types of qualities, it definitely garnered centering. And I think that we, did that really well. And many, many restaurants do a family meal. And I think it's just so important in that way.
Well, and I love that because you're an establishment that provides food and beverage and provides meals for people. But to bring your group together, to bring your team together, you sit together with a meal. And that's so telling. Mm-hmm. And to then just how that community builds together. And it's over a meal, literally with your family, your work family, that then is transported into family meals for other people.
Exactly. And it was kind of a highlight of everybody's day. We'd come downstairs if we were there in the morning and afternoon, and be able to just, again, unite with our community, our friends, and our family within that establishment. It was great. And it's been so hard to see that because, so many restaurants have probably taken, a family meal, something that was really important about, I would say in most restaurants, that pre-shift opportunity for people to get together. And it's, it may not be happening as much now. Right. I don't know if it's happening at Staple House anymore. And again, because it's a market, a little different atmosphere now, but yeah, just those types of moments were just really, really special.
So one question that I ask all of my guests is, what does a safe, inclusive, and sustainable food and beverage experience mean to you?
Oh, I love it. I would say one where you can show up as your true self, no agenda, feel welcomed and safe. And I know you ask, what does safe mean? The opportunity to cast hatred aside, and just come to a place where you feel welcomed and that your voice matters. And I think that will only ever happen through an executive leadership down. I think if you aren't able to kind of walk that walk or talk that talk, then you aren't maybe providing the most safe, sustainable type of establishment. But coming into a place where, you feel that palpable energy, if there's pretense or not, and walking into a space without it, to allow yourself to just kind of be your best self, I think is my definition of that.
I like that. And, the industry there are some bad apples across the board, and, and safe in the food and beverage industry can actually, for workers, can mean something completely different in some instances. And I know that I'm thinking, alcohol abuse and just sexual harassment and all of these things that have come into light in the last couple of years. And so it's not just what we're serving on the platter or serving to our guests, but it's that safe environment in the back of the house.
I love that you said that. I would 100% agree. And what's really, really special for Giving Kitchen is something actually we just launched December 8th. So it's just been a few days. But we just now are starting to offer a substance abuse recovery initiative through Giving Kitchen, where any food service worker, anytime in the last 6 months, if they have undergone an inpatient treatment for substance abuse, they can come to Giving Kitchen and ask for help, and we will turn around financial assistance to help them cover their cost of living, their rent, and their mortgage for when they were away in treatment. In an in-treatment facility. And you're right that, substance abuse is a leading cause of illness within not only our industry, but so many. And I feel like, couldn't be a more important time. I mean, we've always talked about like kind of a holistic approach that Giving Kitchen can offer food service. And I think we're really able to kind of tie all of those loose puzzle pieces together by being able to offer this as well.
That's fantastic. And and I think with COVID too, and everybody's at home, and Robin O'Brien posted a thing the other day talking about Coca-Cola and how their numbers have dropped. And it's great because we're not drinking sugar, but somebody's like, well, yeah, but now, alcohol price, sales have skyrocketed. And I said, that's a whole nother issue in and of itself. And so hopefully, your new services can help teeter that, or keep that away from affecting so many people. Yeah,
absolutely. It takes a really, really courageous individual to say, ask for help. And what we've seen over the years of just our own studies and seeing, food service workers coming to us is that it's incredibly difficult to say, I do need help. And they're having to do it twice, to say, I'm in a state that I can't get out of. I need help in a treatment facility. And above and beyond that, now I need help paying my rent or my mortgage and making sure that there's just food in the refrigerator for when I get home. I mean, that's incredibly difficult. So yes, I would say the number one takeaway is, if you are brave enough to make that decision, please know that we've got your back.
That's awesome. Now, are there one or two stories that you could share that are really heartwarming that have been a result of the Giving Kitchen?
Oh my goodness. Yes. I mean, there's so many there. I mean, my goodness. Actually, just last Saturday, if you haven't signed up for Giving Kitchen's newsletters, I would highly recommend it. givingkitchen.org. You can sign up there. But we just sent one out last Saturday, and it listed every single financial award recipient through 2020.
Wow.
And I'll go in two different ways here. We have, again, our financial assistance program, and then we also have our Stability Network program. We've just surpassed, since our inception, serving over 4,000 food service workers with Stability Network resources and referrals. 2020 specific, we have just served nearly 500 individuals with financial assistance. And each one of those 500 individuals, we made a dedication to in our last newsletter and told you, the public, a little bit of their story, meaning, this was a bartender who, lost his wife, or a cook who recently had a foot amputation, or another cook whose wife was diagnosed with multiple myeloma. I'm thinking of just a few from the last few weeks. These are instances of people that you and I know every single day in our backyard, who are just going through horrific times. I even remember there was one time, to kind of tie that back together, at Staple House. Even it was early in our years. I think it was like our first year that we were open. And I was at the host stand greeting our guests inside. And I had stepped away for a quick moment to go into the kitchen and come back out. And as I approached the host stand again, there was a woman who had she stopped and looked into the dining room, and I could see she was crying. She had tears in her eyes. And so I approached her really diligently and just said, what's your name? How may I help? And she told me her name, and she was like, you don't know who I am, but I have waited years to get here. She said, I had cancer and I beat it. And your story was my inspiration, the formation of Giving Kitchen, watching, the cancer battle with Ryan. And that's what got me through my own. I mean, I lost it at the host stand.
Lose it now.
It was a moment for me. And again, very early on in the Staple House, but for me personally, to see that tangible, oh, wow. Like, this is really something that people are just truly inspired by. And I think it was just, a reflection of our community, being able to share. And I also knew, even, for me, is like, I had the ability to share my story, or I didn't. I chose to, and I'm really glad that I did, because I think it's helping a lot of people. So
that's phenomenal. So how can people help the Giving Kitchen?
Please, in two ways. I will say, first and foremost, our greatest gift is if you share our mission, spread the word of Giving Kitchen. We help food service workers. That's first and foremost. If you know a food service worker in need, if you are one yourself and you need help, just ask for help at Giving Kitchen, first and foremost. There's another opportunity, of course, to help, which is by donating. You can go and do so, either make a recurring gift annually, monthly to Giving Kitchen. You can do a one-time donation. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we do have a lot of products out there, partner opportunities where, Giving Kitchen's logo is on the side of a can of Montaigne sparkling water. And $1 per can is donated to Giving Kitchen or to the GK Wine, or, our Creature Comforts table beer. Through the end of the year, proceeds are going to Giving Kitchen. So there's lots of different delicious opportunities, as well as the more traditional ones, just by donating, or, of course, just sharing what we do. That's fantastic. So are there any words of wisdom or going into 2021 that you want to share? Also great. The first thing that popped into my head is a quote from one of the greatest fighters that I've ever known, one of the greatest humans I've ever known, my late husband. And that is, anything long-lasting or worthwhile takes time and complete surrender. Everybody can use that message. I agree. I think of it every day. Yes, that's fantastic. Well, okay. So, and to end it, this fabulous conversation, thank you so much for everything that you do. Let's share a little bit about yourself and what your favorite thing is to eat and drink. I love it. I always tell my husband, if, you had to pick like the three foods when after you die, you go to heaven, mine would be bacon, some like Mexican queso, and donuts. Okay. And donuts, that's my favorite. Krispy Kreme or Dunkin'? Or Dunkin' Donuts or Sublime. Oh, serious. I like that. So from a childhood perspective, Dunkin', because that's what was around in Indiana. Being in Atlanta, though, it's a nice tie between Krispy Kreme and Sublime Donuts. Yeah. And is it Shaq does he still own the Krispy Kreme? The one on Ponce, yep. Yeah. That's hilarious. And then my favorite drink is probably an Americano cocktail. I also love a good pickleback with a solid, whiskey or bourbon up front. But I also love water. Water is a good thing. We all need some water. Okay, I want to ask you one more question. Yeah. And I know you've got lots of restaurant friends, and I don't want you to pick and choose one or two, but I do want you to. Okay. What's your go-to restaurant, or you can name a couple of them in Atlanta that, meeting planners, hey, this is where you should go eat? There is I'm in the Grant Park area of downtown Atlanta, and in the neighborhood of Summerville, or Summerhill. There is a newer restaurant called Talat Market. It's a Thai restaurant. Huh? The owner and chef is a former teammate of mine at Staple House. He's actually been a chef at some of Atlanta's very best restaurants. And he just opened up this year during the pandemic, but it is some of the most outstanding, easy, casual, no pretense Thai food that you will ever have. I would highly recommend it. And it's only a mile away from my house, so we get to go. That's awesome. Yeah, that's even better. Yeah. Well, and I also love Kimball House in Decatur. Yes. And they've got some great oysters. Yes. Best oyster program for sure. That is for sure. Well, thank you so much, Jen. I really appreciate you spending some time with me and the Eating at a Meeting community. Thank you for what you do for our industry as a whole. It is very much needed across the board, especially during this time, and then probably during the holidays too. So I wish you the best. And thank you so much. You're welcome. And continue, everyone, the Giving Kitchen, givingkitchen.org. Yep. Multiple ways to get involved, multiple stories to hear, and look forward to hearing more from what you guys are doing as we go forward. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Tracy. Thanks. And have a great holiday. You as well. Thank you. And everyone listening, thank you for being here. This is the Eating at a Meeting podcast. We come to you twice a week on all your favorite podcast platforms, talking to experts in all things food and beverage. Look forward to hearing from you or seeing you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Eating at a Meeting podcast, where every meal matters. I'm Tracy Stuckrath, your food and beverage inclusion expert. Call me and let's get started right now on creating safe and inclusive food and beverage experiences for your customers, your employees, and your communities. Share the podcast with your friends and colleagues at our Eating at a Meeting Facebook page and on all podcast platforms. To learn more about me and receive valuable information, go to tracystuckrath.com. And if you'd like more information on how to feed engagement, nourish inclusion, and bolster your bottom line, then visit eatingatameeting.com.